Hello, high school football fans. I'm Joe Bedley with East Alabama Sports Today. We're resuming our campus visits this week. Last week was the first week. This week we'll be here at White Plains today with Coach Clint Smith. Tomorrow we're going to do a double dip at Ohatchee and Sachs, and then Wednesday at Alexandria, Thursday at Weaver, Friday at Jacksonville, and then Saturday at Pleasant Valley, and then we'll hit Piedmont next week, and that's game week. So we're getting real close to high school football here in Alabama. And Clint, just how have things looked so far in your first preseason practice here at White Plains?
Yeah, I think things are going really well. We seem to be grasping things pretty well, getting a little bit better each and every day. And, we've only been here for a few months. And so, really, started out having them this summer. And, our kids, worked really hard, did a great job this summer, in the weight room. And, going into the fall camp, we've seen some really good things out of some kids, and just trying to kind of instill, kind of our way of doing things, and, just trying to get that foundation the way we need it, as we move forward. And, like I said, we haven't been here a whole lot, but, very long, but, for now, I really like the kids buy in, and, that was the biggest thing is finding out, who's on board and who's not, and making sure the ones that want to be here are here, and doing everything that they need to do in order for us to get to where we want to get to. And the ones that don't want to, they doing other things and things like that. So really just trying to build the roster and build the guys that want to see this through. And been very pleased with our numbers, both varsity level and junior high level. Numbers are really good, and just some really good kids. Our community is really excited and ready for football.
Of course, many years at Jacksonville, kind of a rival school to White Plains, used to be in the same region in 4A, but it looks like that Andy Ward's Wildcat here has embraced you. And
Yeah.
how much it just has your reputation for winning in previous stops kind of helped that buy-in process?
I mean, I think it does. I was able to bring a very good staff with me, guys that have been with me at all of my stops, really. My coordinators, Coach Ed and Coach Albright, were with me at Sachs and at Jacksonville and now here. And so those guys have been with me for 20 and 19 years, both of them. And so just being together for that long and knowing each other, and a couple other guys I brought with me from Jacksonville, and was able to hire Coach Mike Benefield, as our offensive line coach, I think has been really big for us. And Dylan Randall, John Brian O'Connor, two guys that were here last year that are still on staff with us. And I think that definitely helps. There's nothing that we've seen here that we haven't seen at the other stops that we've been to, and a lot of it is very similar, in a lot of ways. And so I think experience helps, when you've dealt with certain situations at different schools. And I guess that probably goes a long way with the kids, but man, the kids have been great, and we're just excited to get going.
I'm looking out a window here, and I think I'm seeing kind of the off the main road setting, and I'm thinking about your alma mater, Clay County. What it looked like sitting in the office there. Are there some similarities? I know you'd like to get the football program to where that program
Absolutely
was at some point, but just do you see, in terms of like the kind of school, the kind of clientele, do you see some similarities there?
I do. The setting here is very similar to where I grew up, and when I went to Clay County High School, it was a 2A school, just kind of in Clay County, and just real country school that the community loved the kids, loved the school, supported us. And I see a lot of that here. At the early stages, White Plains was a 2A school, and just kind of out here to itself. But we've grown out here over the past few years into a 4A school, and but you walk down the hallways, and just kind of the atmosphere is a lot similar to that. And the community out here really supports the school and supports their kids, and that's very similar. And so it does have a little bit of a feel of a Clay County high school back in the 90s when I went to school. And so it's a really good place, and just really enjoying my time here.
And let's look at some of the personnel you have coming back this year. Starting with quarterback Crew Martin, you start with an experienced quarterback. That's always a positive, right?
It is. I think the fact that he started last year as a sophomore, got all those games under his belt, coming into a junior year. I think that he is definitely more seasoned and been able to have some game experience, and I think that'll go a long way, in leading our offense.
And then Hudson Inglesby, all-county offensive lineman last year, defensive lineman too, but just obviously he's a big kid and he's had a year to grow. What's he looking like now?
Yeah, Hudson is a great kid. He's very smart. He picks up on things really well, and just his sheer size at 6'7", 290 pounds. He'll anchor our offensive line, and just looking for really good things out of him. He showed great leadership and helping some of our younger guys and things like that. So looking for a good year out of him.
And then right next to him, Logan Lobby, or you got something to build with there when you have those big guys coming back.
Yeah, Logan's coming back, and Hudson and Logan, will play on the offensive line, and they'll split some time on the defensive line as well. So, having those two guys back to help anchor those spots, is a really big deal. And they're, really good players for us, and big guys, and like I said, they've done a really good job of helping lead us so far.
Hayden Barksdale was an all-county linebacker, moves to defensive back for you this year. What are you seeing out of him?
Yeah, Hayden has been around for a while. His brother played here, and so he's been around the program for a long time, and does a really good job in our secondary and at wide receiver and stuff. And so looking for a big year out of him, and once again he's been buying in and doing everything we've asked him to do, and showing some good leadership. And so yeah, Hayden's gonna have a great year.
And then Bryson Cheap was one of those guys on the all-county team we would call an athlete, defensive back, wide receiver, kicker. Is he adding any more roles this year?
We could probably add some, but Bryson does a lot for us, and on the offensive side, defensive side, special teams wise, with kicking and things like that. So just does a lot for us, and he's one of those guys that doesn't come off the field a whole lot, but he's a competitor. He wants to be out there competing, and he's just done a great job for us.
And then linebacker Taylor Brown was another all-county pick that comes back. Is he same spot as?
Yeah, Taylor's at linebacker for us. We've kind of transitioned into a 3-5 defense, and he's one of those guys back there. He's learning, he's picking up on it well, and Taylor's here every day, works hard. One of our hardest workers, and just really doing a good job for us.
And a couple of intriguing new faces here. Bruce Downey was an all-state kicker at Donahoe last year, who was here, and it looks like he's fitting in not just a kicker, but it sounds like you got a competition at kicker, and then he's also a wide receiver, a defensive back.
Yes, Bruce has come in, and outstanding kicker. We've got two really good kickers. Him and Bryson both do a great job. At all phases of it, and so he'll factor into that part of the game, but also at defensive back, outside linebacker, and at wide receiver. So looking forward to seeing what he can do for us.
And then your son Jay Reed Smith is here, and what's it like to get to coach your son? He's a nose tackle, tight end, but just what's
yeah, I mean, just excited to have him out here with us, and he's a big guy, in the middle of our defense, and I know he'll have a great year. Had a good year for us as a sophomore at Jacksonville, and just looking for big things out of him this year.
In terms of holes to fill from last year, of course, Rodney Peary was a senior last year, a really good player, defensive back, running back. PJ Holloway transferred out. So who do you see filling into those spots and giving you that production?
Yeah, it's a lot by committee. We've got several guys that we feel like can fill those roles, and Rodney had an unfortunate injury right there at the beginning of the year, and we're hopeful that we'll get him back before the season's over. He's working real hard at that, and that's still to be determined. But Rodney's a great guy, and we're definitely gonna miss him. Early on, with him not being out there, he got a lot of experience that he would have brought back, and a tremendous player for us. But I think other people are just gonna have to step up, and I think we got some guys by committee that we can do that in those positions, and and I think that's the way we'll go with it.
Just obviously very tough region in there with Anniston, Alexandria, Cherokee County, and just where do you see White Plains fitting into this your first season here?
Well, we've got to learn to compete at everything that we do, and that's going to be the first step is getting in those games and being in the game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. We've got to be sound in everything that we do. We've got to win the turnover battle. We can't have costly penalties. We got to sustain drives. We got to take advantage of miscues, things like that. We got to play discipline, and we got to play physical football. And so, if we do that, I think we got a chance. We have to be able to be in those tough games in the fourth quarter, and then we've got to learn to take that next step and win one of those games. And when you win one of them and you get that confidence level up, then it all kind of takes off. Looking back at Sachs, looking back at Jacksonville, those early years, there were those defining games that turned the whole entire program around. And so that's kind of what we're looking for, is when is that game going to come? But in order to do that, we've got to make sure that we're setting ourselves up late in the game to have a shot for that. And so, just competing in everything that we do, just changing our mindset and just waiting on that opportunity and taking it.
Continuity has been a thing. Your senior players here are about to play for their third head coach. Where you are and you're at this point in your career, do you kind of see this as the place you're going to be for the rest of it?
I mean, that's the plan. I mean, I'm not planning. I've never been one that really just jumped around. I was at Sachs for 9 years total. I was at Jacksonville for 13 years. And so, I've been fortunate to be able to stay in Calhoun County my whole career and coach at some really awesome schools and get to know some great kids and the great communities. And so that's been a blessing. Been coaching with pretty much the same coaching staff, for the majority of that time. It has been really good. And, we're no strangers to White Plains. My wife taught out here for 17 years and, we lived out here for, 10 or 12 years. And so we know a lot of people in the community and things like that. So, very familiar with the community. But, I think looking at it, just in order to get this to where we need to get to, it's going to take consistency. It's going to take, just some stability, and giving these guys that are coming up through our program the stability of knowing that, we're building a program. We're not trying to build a team. We're trying to build something that will sustain and something to where year in and year out, we can have those opportunities to get in the playoffs and do the things that we want to do. And I think, consistency is just the big word that we're looking for over the next, several years, and just building the program the way that we want to build it.
Another change around here is helmets.
Yeah.
See, they've been through a lot of helmet changes there, and as different coaches have come through. And I noticed at Media Day you had a black helmet. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just when you come in, you try to set the tone and set the example for what you want your look to be. And we decided on the matte black helmet, which I think looks really good with the royal and the white. And so that's just the look we went with. And I think the kids really like them, and I think they look good. And so it's just about building our brand the way that we want to do that. We were able to do that at the other stops that we've had, and it's just getting that foundation. Everything with the first year is about getting all those little things right. And it's like when you go to build a house, you don't start with the roof. You got to start with the foundation and build it up. And so that's what we're trying to do, and just make sure that our thoughts and our ideals and the things that we feel like is important in order to get a program to the level that you want to get it to year in and year out. You have to do all that year one. There's a lot of tough decisions that has to be made year one. There's a lot of changes, within the school, within the staff, within the team, to get things lined up so that you can build it the way that you want to build it. And so that, that's what we're focused on right now. And a lot of this stuff, we've yet to play a game with these guys. And so, all we have is, film and things like that. But, a lot of the things that we'll have to correct and we'll have to address will come out once we start playing. Maybe some of those old habits that we have to stop, and maybe some of the things that we see that's good. We gotta praise and make sure they understand that. And so, a lot of it's going to be on the fly, during the game, after the game, just really making a lot of corrections and from a program standpoint and the way we do things standpoint, a lot of that will happen as the season goes through, and hopefully we'll get to that point where we feel good about where we are and can grow from that.
Yeah, sure you appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Good luck this season. New digs, new shade of blue.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And maybe before long, the the program here will have that guy's attitude.
Yeah.
Does he have a name, by the way?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
Maybe we need to work on that.
I don't
Maybe
think so.
if you have some suggestions for the Wildcats name, leave it in the comments. I'm Joe Medley with East Alabama Sports Today. Again, tomorrow we'll be at Ohatchee and Sachs. And then later this week, we'll also hit Alexandria, Weaver, Jacksonville, and Pleasant Valley. Thanks again. Good luck
Appreciate
this
it.
year.
Thank you.
And we'll see you tomorrow.